Hi, Nancy. Nice to hear from you. Well, the question that you asked in your email is one that I get a lot, and what you're seeing is the JPEG preview of your unprocessed image. So that means the preview, which is embedded into your image, has already been assigned some values by the camera software to make it look better. It's already been added contrast, it's already been color corrected to some degree, and the way to mitigate that a little bit in Lightroom, can't be done entirely, but there are two things you can do. One of the ways is to come here to the import dialog box, and you get there, sorry, I should have showed you, get there by being in the library module, coming over here and clicking on import, and then you'll have a whatever selected source you'll have in here. I don't know, that's not very good, is it? Just make sure that all of the previews are rendered at 1:1. There are all these different choices here. 1:1 takes the longest, so it's not going to be any fun to wait for, but it saves you time when you're working on the images because every image doesn't have to render the preview before it shows you the real unprocessed image. Okay, that's one way. I'm going to cancel out of this. If you've already imported a bunch of images, then what you want to do is go over here to Library. Is it Library? Yes. Previews, Render 1:1 Previews, and a dialog box is going to come up that says, in this case I only had one photo selected, so it asked me, do I want to build all of them? You would say yes, build all the 1:1 previews that are left to build. Click that and then go get a cup of coffee, because it'll take a minute if you have a big Lightroom library. If you don't have a big library, it won't take that long at all. And then there's one other thing that you can do, which is something I've started doing a lot lately. It takes kind of a minute to figure it out, but it's not that big of a deal. I come to the Develop module and to the little used camera calibration box over here, and I scroll down through these profile choices. Now, it doesn't really matter whether you have a Nikon or a Canon or a Olympus, whatever you're shooting with. But I just scroll down until I get one, and now I'm working on, let's say I'm working on an unprocessed image, until I get one that I like the way it looks kind of offhand. I like the changes that one of these presets has made to it, and that will make it a little bit more like that JPEG preview that you're seeing right before you see your unprocessed image. So I just choose one of these, and then I go up here to, where is it? Develop, set default settings, and then that will set that new default every time an image opens from that camera. So change the default settings used by Lightroom Camera Raw for negative files with the following properties. It shows me which camera I shoot with. This is going to happen to. So it'll apply this to every single image that comes in. You know, don't be freaked out when it's this thing. The changes are not undoable. Yes, they are. It's fine. And then you would, update to current settings, and that will set whatever you've chosen over here as the default. So that means you're telling Lightroom, hey, set some initial changes for me, just like my camera software does in the preview, and then those two images won't be so startlingly different. Okay, I'm going to cancel out. There's one other thing I want to tell you too, though. Come to Lens Corrections and just click this box on before you set a default. Enable Profile Correction. Come down here, do your camera calibration, then come up here and do your set default settings, because there's no downside to having this lens correction checked on. If the lens profile isn't found, nothing happens. And if it is found, then it makes some changes, corrections to the chromatic aberrations and different things like that, specific to a camera and a lens. So I would check that on, maybe play with picking a calibration down here, adjusting your images, and then set default. You can always go back and reset everything to 0 and set a different default. You can do it forever. But when you do set the default, make sure none of these other things, make sure none of them have adjustments. So make sure that they're all, zeroed out here. Reset everything, because otherwise it's going to remember those settings and apply them to all the images that come in. All right. Hopefully that's helpful and not too confusing. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.